poppin'? Real ones. Logan, Murdock here. Howard, mother effing Beck there. We are talking Jokic, and we are getting to New Year's resolutions, and then we're getting to mailbag. First things first, some news that, man, I was really sad last night when I saw this. When I saw the clip of Jokic going down, he injured his left knee. It's officially a hyperextension after he injured it with 3 seconds left before intermission in Miami last night. Nuggets coach David Adelman said after the game, immediately he knew something was wrong. Then he goes, hey, this is part of the NBA. Anybody who gets hurt in this game, it's kind of gut-wrenching, especially somebody as special as he is. We'll find out more tomorrow. We'll move on as a team. Obviously, right now, I'm more concerned about him as a person and the disappointment of going through something like that. Jokic was alone under the basket and appeared to step forward to help Denver's Spencer Jones to defend a drive. As time was set to expire in the second quarter, while backtracking, Jones stepped on Jokic's left foot, and it seemed that the center's knee buckled a little bit. What were your reaction when you first saw the injury, Howard? And what do the Nuggets do from here? Like they are 22-10, and they have dealt with a rash of injuries, but Jokic is a top 3 player in the league. He is the glue that brings this whole organization together. And also he is the monument of stability for this team through all of their injuries. He's out a month, but that month could feel longer than it actually is. What do the Nuggets do from here? And how do they just keep the ship afloat?
Yeah, man, this is a massive, massive bummer. With the Thunder stumbling recently, by which I mean getting beaten by the Spurs repeatedly, there had actually been like a shift in, I think, the discourse and a shift in like the betting markets or whatever stuff I don't pay attention to. But like Jokic was back in the lead for MVP, right? And here's a multiple-time MVP and the consensus best player in the world. And the Nuggets still 22-10 as we speak, despite having Aaron Gordon out for weeks, Christian Brown out for weeks. Like they've just been really great, and Jokic has been awesome. That alert came up on my phone. I was with my daughter at Nets Warriors last night here in Brooklyn, enjoying another fun Steph performance and a really gutty Nets team. And it was a really good game. And then suddenly this popped up and it was like, oh shit. So we're watching on my iPhone, like the replays. And my first thought was, okay, his reaction looked really bad, but amateur doctor hour here, I looked at it and I went, that doesn't actually look like a knee blowout. This looked like maybe hyperextension bone bruise kind of thing. And so look at me go. Send my medical degree, folks, anytime. I'll send my address out. Hyperextension. Here's the thing. The Nuggets announced this as a left knee hyperextension, reevaluated in 4 weeks. So the Nuggets are actually not being very transparent here. They're withholding a couple of things. One, as I've learned over the years in talking to Jeff Stotts, who does the In Street Clothes blog, In Street Clothes on all the social media platforms. Jeff Stotts does a great job with injury analysis in the NBA and other places. Hyperextension is not a diagnosis. It's a thing that happens. It's like if you turned your ankle, the actual diagnosis is not turned ankle. It's a sprain or a break or whatever. Hyperextension, not a diagnosis. You can find this online, but Jeff Stotts wrote this a year ago. We're talking about a different player. The term hyperextension is more of a descriptor of what happened to the knee than an actual diagnosis. And it can result in a wide variety of injuries, including bone bruises, ligament sprains, or capsule injuries. And each injury has its own recovery time. Point being, the Nuggets are not telling us what the actual injury is here. We don't know. As of this recording, they're just saying hyperextension. That's a thing that happened, not the diagnosis. So 4 weeks is the other piece they're not being completely transparent about, because reevaluated in 4 weeks doesn't mean back in 4 weeks. And the only way to know what's a reasonable time for him to return would be if they actually told us what the injury was, which they haven't. I wish the NBA, in cracking down on other aspects of injury reporting, would force teams to tell us the truth and give us more information on these things. But that's a rant for another day.
The Ringer NBA show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live and your way so you could build the bet that fits your play. Plus, don't miss out on holiday offers and surprises all month long. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/RingerNBA to get started. 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
4 weeks, Logan. It's a long freaking time in the NBA. And in this case, there are minimum 16 games. Count from four weeks from today, minimum 16 games that they're without Jokic. That's a lot of games in a 4-week span, by the way. So it's heavy on games, and it's also 10 of those 16 are on the road. But it's kind of soft in terms of the opponents. So they are 2 games into a 7-game trip right now. They have Toronto, Cleveland, here in Brooklyn. I'll go see them. I think that's Sunday. Philly and Boston. So not a murderer's row on that road trip, but it's still 7-game road trip. It's a 7-game road trip. They're home for a couple of games against Atlanta and Milwaukee. They're on the road again at New Orleans and Dallas. Again, not world beaters here. Home against Washington, Charlotte, and the Lakers. And then they're at Washington, Milwaukee, and Memphis. So not a lot of brutal teams in there. A lot of middling to bad teams in there. They could stay afloat potentially. But Jokic isn't your typical star player that you miss and you're like, oh, we'll just find scoring elsewhere. That dude is the hub of everything. So look, the good news is Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown, who've been out for quite a while here, are both potentially coming back somewhere during this road trip. David Adelman, the coach, had said that the other day. So they may get at least 2 starters back soon. And the other good news is they made a really great offseason move, one that I still don't understand from the Kings side of it, where they traded Dario Saric for Jonas Valanciunas. And Jonas Valanciunas is a starting caliber center who was playing short minutes behind Jokic, and he can handle a lot. Gordon can play center and small ball lineups. He has done that a lot. I think they can weather this, Logan, and they're 22-10. They're in 3rd in the West. The precarious part is that the West is the West, right? They're only a game behind the Spurs for 2nd, 5.5 behind the Thunder for 1st, but they're only 1 game ahead of Houston and the Lakers. They're only 3 games up on the 7th spot, which is Phoenix right now. If things go badly without Jokic, they could be in play-in range before he gets back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but it's also they also have Jamal Murray playing like an all-star right now, which is something that we should add to that point. He's averaging 25 a game, 7 assists. If all goes right, if they just go just a little bit above average during that stretch, they can hold down the fort. If they even, maybe bump down to maybe a 5 seed and just hold the line there, they'll be in good shape. It'll be a relatively normal Nugget season in terms of record by the time he gets back. And then they can go on a run. We don't know when he's going to come back. The other thing that is interesting here is you say he's going to miss maybe 16 games potentially?
I mean, 16 is the minimum. That gets
at
you
least,
to 4
right?
weeks.
Yeah, that would put him out of the. No, but what I'm saying is that'll take him out of the award running. And if he's going for, which means, my MVP pick for Wemby is
suddenly looking better again. I think Wemby's got a
better.
5-game buffer himself right now.
We're riding. We're still here though. But I'm curious to see what the Nuggets do here, right? Because it's frustrating because this was, in a lot of ways, the revenge season or maybe the reminder season that they wanted to have. Hey, we are the Nuggets and we are going to try and we are here. You guys forgot about us. We gave you a preview of this during our series against OKC, but we've retooled. We've gotten rid of Michael Porter. We flipped him for Cam Johnson. We've
Cam also out, by the way.
Cam also out. But I'm saying they're going into the season thinking, hey, we're going to be – this is the deepest team we've had in years since our championship run. We can make a real run out of it. And the other thing is you're not accounting for Jokic being out, not because you just don't want to do that for a superstar, not only because of that, but also he doesn't miss time. Say what you want about big men and, getting hurt, but he's not one of those people. This is probably going to be the longest absence that he's ever had in his career. And he's just been this pillar of consistency for this organization. And this is a big moment for this organization to hold down the fort for him. And, Adelman's done a great job. I always compare the Nuggets a little bit to the Spurs, not necessarily in terms of wins, but in terms of stability over a long stretch, right? The stability around one guy and a guy that, they're always in the mix, no matter what their record is, no matter what they're doing in March, you can kind of pencil them into contention for the conference finals and beyond because of one guy. And they just got to hold down the fort. And we'll see what this month is going to happen. That's a big ask. But what you said with the record and also with the people coming back in the lineup and also Jamal Murray playing well, Jamal Murray, if you want that all-star, you better go on this heater for this next month. And that's going to be the recipe to stay afloat for this team. And thank God they're playing all those Eastern Conference teams.
Great call on Jamal Murray, who we shouted out last week for the season he's having anyway. This is a moment for him, right? Here's a guy who is the reigning title holder of best player never to be all NBA or an all-star. And he absolutely should get it this time. But also, these next few weeks, while balloting is still going on, are going to be really critical for that, because if he really steps into the void there and keeps the Nuggets afloat, wins some games, becomes that leader that he needs to be, that's only going to bolster his all-star case, whether that's in the balloting by the fans and media and players, or whether that's in the reserve balloting by the coaches. He should get in there. I think the Nuggets, we know if they're whole in the play, as long as they still are in the playoffs, so no one's going to want to face them, right? No matter how far they slip, I think we can count on the idea that the Nuggets are still going to be one of the best teams in the NBA when the spring arrives, if Jokic is back fully healthy and everything else. However far they slip in the standings, they're not going to fall out entirely, right? So there's that part. But man, I failed to do the math because I still don't accept in principle this stupid 65 game rule. It's not stupid. I get why they wanted to do it, but man, if Jokic is now going to potentially be ineligible to win MVP, when at the moment he went down, he was arguably the leader for MVP, and we've had multiple years here where it's Jokic and Giannis, it's Jokic and Embiid, it's Jokic and Shea, neck and neck, and it's sometimes it's a coin flip, or it's a preference thing, or it's one little advanced stat that you chose this way versus that way. And now it's going to be, nope, he's not even on the ballot. He's off the board. The best player on the planet is going to and it may just be because he misses exactly 18 games or something and is just over the threshold. And I've always said the problem with the 65 game rule is some point, maybe as soon as this season, someone who's only played 64 games is going to have had a way better season than somebody who played 65 or 66, but we're going to have to give it to the other guy. So I don't know. It's a bummer all the way around. It's obviously a bummer for Jokic, for Nuggets fans, everybody else, but let's hope he gets back sooner than later. I will just note one other quick tweet from Dr. Brian Suterer, who, again, somebody who chimes in on a lot of sports injuries and the NBA in particular. He said that it suggests that there's some moderate bone bruising that needs time to heal. So that's when you say just hyperextension without telling us what the injury is, and 4 weeks to be reevaluated. He's saying it suggests moderate bone bruising that needs time to heal, but great to hear ligaments are good. And this was best case scenario. So that's from Brian Suterer, MD.
I would just like to say really quickly, when we talk about injury reports, it's not just and the accuracy of injury reports. It's not just for the media. You don't have to care about us necessarily, but it's also your fan base, right? There's a lot of people in Denver right now who's like, when is my favorite player going to be back? We want to fucking strive for a title. Can you give us some transparency here? The Vegas, who cares about
the road? When they're traveling and you're looking down at the schedule, I bought tickets to see Jokic play the one time in my town. Is he going to make it or not? And also you've got all the gambling that goes on and all the fantasy sports and everything else that goes on. People deserve more transparency than what the NBA is giving them.
Yeah, it's not even just that. I think it's also it's NBA, but it's also individual teams, because I don't want to blanket and say that all teams aren't transparent with their injuries and reevaluations and all of these things, but it would just behoove you to be a little bit more transparent with yourself. Not even for us, forget us in this context, for your fan base, for people that are buying tickets for your bottom line and your organizational bottom line. Let's take a quick break. And we're going to go to New Year's resolutions. That's for you, Conor. I know you recorded. You're seeing this recording. That's for you, man. Got into a break. The Ringer NBA show is brought to you by FanDuel. This NBA season on FanDuel, it's all about the boost. Because game days mean your chance to boost your bet and make every play pay off. That's right. All customers get a 25% same-game parlay and parlay profit boost. Let's take a look at the slate. Sixers, Grizzlies. I think I'm going to take the Grizzlies on this one just to make one particular person mad. For the Celtics, Jazz, I think I'm going to take the over, and I think I'm going to take the Celtics in that matchup. Pistons, Lakers, that looks interesting. LeBron's 41st birthday. I think the over on points for LeBron, and I think the Pistons take it. The game's never stopping. With FanDuel, you've got more ways to make every win even bigger. So lock in on your bets, boost your odds, and make every night count with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 years and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issues non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. And we are back. Okay, so yesterday, or in the weeks leading up to this podcast, I was just saying this is going to be a New Year's resolution episode. And, Howard, as you guys can, probably figure out, had a lot of questions for it. What kind of resolution? What are we doing? What is this for? What subject matter can we get into? And I said there was no rules to this. We can literally do whatever you want as long as it pertains to basketball. It's the only rule. And I'm even going to – I have ones that are set up, and Victoria and Clifford are going to be very annoyed with me, but I'm adding a couple New Year's resolutions. And one of them came to mind when you were talking in the last segment, and that is doing away with this 65-game threshold for awards, okay? Because, perfect example, Jokic right now. MVP is supposed to be the best, not only the best player of the season, but the player that really defined the season with his excellence, right? And if you put, not only for MVP, but if you put the 65-game rule in there, it takes away a lot of the nuance of what that is, right? The guy that defined it, the guy that has been the one. That's why I thought that Jokic should have won last year, because I felt like when you go back and look at that year, you're going to think about all of the performances, the individual performances that Jokic had, right? And I know I've disagreed with a lot of people, but that's my critique of this, or my criteria for it, excuse me. And I think that not only are you messing with the awards and the history of your league, you're also trying to take money out of your players' pockets, right? Like, there's a lot of things that has to do, with all NBA and things like that. And I know that this is the load management issue has been a problem, but there has to be another way, because the 65-game rule, if you have to look at it, hasn't really been fruitful for kind of anyone involved with it, right? Like, it hasn't necessarily kept players on the floor. It hasn't done everything that you wanted it to do. I don't want to get a big word salad in here, but I don't think that it has really succeeded in the way that Adam Silver has wanted it to succeed. And we're going to talk about other ideas that haven't succeeded later in the program, but this is one of them. Let's just do away with it, right? Let's do it. Fuck it.
Listen,
or maybe push it down, right? Maybe 55 games.
The difficulty, Logan, is we are in a time of load management, player rest, and medical staffs control most of this stuff. It's usually not the players who are opting to not play, right? Most players would just say, screw it, I want to go out there. It's the medical staffs who are erring on the side of caution, because these guys make $1 gazillion now, and they are a really massive investment. And you are also trying to look out for their longevity and for the team's success in the postseason and all these other factors. And so the league is trying to incentivize the players and the teams to play as much as possible, right? That's the point of the 65-game rule. If you go through the history of awards, I don't recommend anybody do this. You might be bored very quickly. But we, the media, who vote on most of these awards, have not generally rewarded a lot of guys who come in under that 65-game mark anyway. This is kind of an unofficial standard that we've all collectively employed over decades. It's always mattered, just unofficially. We didn't need a rule. But they needed so the rule wasn't for us. The rule was for the players. They needed to give them a hard and fast barrier there where it's like, do not drop below this, or you're missing out on awards. You're missing out on some legacy items. You're missing out potentially on bonuses, whatever it may be. But I don't think it has changed a lot of behavior, frankly. The NBA is going to immediately push back, and hopefully they don't slam me in a tweet like they did to The Athletic a week ago. But maybe they have data that says this has changed behavior. I don't know that we have seen a major impact of the 65 game rule in the way that they had hoped. If you've got the data, the NBA, I'm sure you'll reach out and let me know kindly, diplomatically.
Well, they can ask you on Twitter. You ain't never going to see it.
And I won't, because I'm not on Twitter. Haha. Hit me on Blue Sky NBA. Actually, they're there too, just not the PR account. Yeah. Anyway, enough on the 65 game rule. But like, I'm with you on that one. We should just note, by the way, real quick, because yes, we did have a text back and forth where I was saying, well, what do we mean by resolutions? Because this is the way my brain functions. Like, these are our resolutions, but not for ourselves. We don't need to improve ourselves. We're great. We're fine. It's the NBA that needs improving. So these are our resolutions. We're kind of like putting this in their head. Like, we would like the league to make the resolution to get rid of the 65 game rule, along with some other things here. But so that's kind of the exercise. It's more like it's almost a wish list as much as anything. Yeah.
All right. Look at Howard pandering to the audience.
I'm just letting them know what we're doing here. I just don't.
They'll be all right. They're listening. They're like, okay, let's get to the next resolution. Okay, what is your resolution? I have a couple others, but it's your turn now.
Number one, also at the league level. This one's for Adam Silver. Stick with an all-star game format, Adam.
Bro,
just pick one and stick with it. If it doesn't immediately click with fans, it's okay. Give it time. Because the lurching from one thing to the next, and this now what looks like in retrospect, just desperate throwing shit against the wall every year, trying to revive it, it looks worse when you're constantly changing. If you stuck with one thing, maybe people would eventually kind of like accept that, oh, this is actually an improvement over the past. Here's a quick review, folks. 2018, they first bring in the playground draft kind of thing, but they didn't do it out in front of everybody. They did it in private. So Steph and LeBron were the captains that year. They drafted their teams out of the All-Star pool.
Missed out on a ratings bonanza.
But they fixed that the next year, 2019. Giannis and LeBron were the captains, and they drafted live on TNT, and it was fucking great. It was awesome. We had a blast. That same year, though, the game was kind of a dud. Adam and Chris Paul, who was at that time was president of the Players Association, had a conversation, said, you know what, we need to fix this. We need to do something. We need to incentivize players more. So they brought in a bunch of different ideas, including playing for charity and some other mechanisms. And then they did the Elam ending, which was the target score in the fourth quarter thing. The game was great in 2020, in part because of the Elam ending. It charged it up. It worked. It was great. A couple more cycles, and the Elam ending wasn't making the game any better, and the game was a dud again. So in 2024, out of the blue, they killed the Elam ending, but they also killed the playground style draft. They scrapped the live draft, which had been, everybody loved it. Fans loved it. Media loved it. Some players
maybe content for your league.
Yeah, like it was uncomfortable for some players. There were some moments, but we're like, man up, tough shit. It was fine. It was fun for everybody else. Adam never should have killed that one. He never adequately explained why they did. 2025, this past February, they go to the tournament style with 2 semis and a final. I will tell you, from my vantage point in the arena that night, especially the 2 earlier games, the 2 semis, right? They were actually good because the
games weren't the problem, though. The games were the problem.
Were not the problem.
It was the 35-minute toast to TNT that was the problem.
We had 2 problems. One was TNT's self-indulgence, and I say this with all respect.
We're both been employees of Turner. We've both been employees of Turner.
I love all those people. We all love Chuck and Shaq and Ernie and Kenny, and they deserved their moment. It was too long of a moment, and it shouldn't have been in the middle of the fucking game. Like, this was just bad programming. It was not, the problem wasn't the game itself or the series of games. And the other problem, by the way, Kevin Hart. So, like, they didn't give that enough of a chance on its own. And now they changed it again. It's still a tournament, but now we're doing World versus US with a confusing process where we're still voting East and West. We're not voting World and US players. We're voting East and West. And then the league has to figure out, do we have enough international guys for the 8-man international team? and then 2 8-man squads of US born players. And if there's not enough of one or the other, then they're going to add, and there will be more than 24 all-stars so that they can get this right. Like, there's just too many variables now. It's made it more confusing again. They're still doing a tournament. So, like, I guess to the extent that I thought it sort of worked last year, minus Kevin Hart, minus TNT's, halftime, thing. They're still trying the tournament thing. And I still think that's good, because putting a time limit on these games that is shorter, I think these are 12-minute games, that's the right idea. It needs to be short and sweet, and with an intensity that ratchets up, because we don't have 4 quarters of just throwing alley-oops and dicking around. We have to actually play. If you want to win this thing, you got a really short span. Let's go. So anyway, I'm good with the new thing. The voting process and everything else, and how they're going to get the rosters done, it's still annoying. It's too many steps. But the tournament itself, I think, shows promise. It's better than the old All-Star game. I'm good with that. I would still rather have the live draft that we had. But whatever happens, however this goes, however much Kevin Hart tries to screw the whole thing up, just stick with this, NBA. If it doesn't work, if there's backlash, fine, fuck it. Do it again next year until it sticks. Just stop lurching from one thing to the next. Okay, resolution and sermon.
Hey, man, let K Hart get his checks, bro. Let him get his checks, man. Hey.
if not for the NBA, would Kevin Hart still the NBA and whatever the commercials he's in doing the Home Alone Kevin thing? Like, without
I don't
that,
know
what is he
Kevin
doing?
Hart. I don't know Kevin Hart. All I do know is he has never turned down. He don't turn down checks. He's doing everything. He's going to be everywhere all at once. What was the movie? He's that movie.
I don't blame Kevin Hart. I blame Turner for and the NBA for constantly involving him in everything inexplicably.
Yes, we know he's from Philly, Cliff. We understand. Cliff is right now. Okay, couple points to that. One, this is the thing I think about the All-Star game in general. Like, fans, when they come, they don't want a homework assignment going into this. They don't want, and I said this last year in the live show, like, they don't want a homework assignment. They don't want to be like, oh, they want to copy and paste. They know that this is going to be, they know that this is going to be not necessarily as competitive as it should be. The people that are watching, they are watching to see the spectacle of their favorite players playing basketball. Now, and the thing that has been a criticism of Adam Silver throughout a lot of people in the league is that he's a terminally online commissioner that wants to please everyone. That is always the critique if you go down sidelines, pregame, everywhere. That is everything that you hear about him. And this constant push and pull and always trying to crowdsource and get all of these opinions in a room, that's what you get. You get 1 year where you're doing a player draft, then someone gets in your ear about, this isn't that good, right? Or you read all the tweets, and then you go and you pivot and you pivot and you pivot. I think Adam Silver honestly just needs a little bit of constructive FU in him. Like, he needs it's a little inner David Stern, just a little bit, right? Like, stop listening to so many people. Listen to your gut. Listen right here. And that's my critique of Adam Silver, and that's the reason why, like, All-Star Weekend has been just so many data points, and bro, we just want to watch hoop. We really just want to watch hoop. Like, dog. And here's the other thing: before all of these changes, and you know this because you've been covering the league a long time, the All-Star game would just go in ebbs and flows, right? Like, whether it be the dunk contest being in vogue, or whether it be the 3-point contest being in vogue, and then whether it's built on moments, in my opinion, more than it's built on structure, right? Like, the 03 All-Star game was great because it was Mike's last one, right? The 92 one was great because it was Magic's last one, right? And one of the things I think with all these data points and all these things that are going on, and I don't even know how they're going to get him into the All-Star game, but, like, how are we going to give LeBron his true moment when it's in a tournament fashion, right? Like, and especially other guys like that. I'm more of a traditionalist in this sense. I didn't even really see nothing really wrong with the game, right? Like, I did like the additive of the picks and, like, the playground structure, but I like a game. Like, some years it's more, the competitiveness comes from the players, not necessarily the format. The reason why, hold on one second, I know you got a long-winded thing. Hold on one second. I'm gonna land the plane. 01, which is generally considered the greatest All-Star game of the 2000s. The reason why that was so competitive was because of the players. It was because you had Kevin Garnett saying, we're going to fucking play hard. It's because you had Allen Iverson saying, we're going to play hard. Because you had Kobe and Shaq saying, okay, we're going to turn it on when it's time. We're going to give them a show. The reason why it's not as competitive is because you don't have the guys that are, or the guys that would say it's competitive or want to get it competitive are either aging out or they're just not there. Like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum aren't saying, let's go, guys, let's kick their ass, right? You know who is, though? Wemby. Wemby is like, yo, we are going to make this. I am competitive at all times. And I think that was part of the ebb and flow. But I don't think that the format, honestly, is going to make that. It's going to be right here. It's going to be the players that are involved, because you could have all the formats that you want to have, but if somebody's in the corner like, I don't give a fuck about this game, then you're still, even in a tournament format, you're still going to have non-competitive basketball. So it has to be it's on the players in this instance, in my opinion.
All true. It's always been on the players. But the trick of the All-Star game is everybody knows going in, this is just a silly exhibition. At the end of a long weekend where they put these guys just through the grinder, they've had to do a gazillion appearances. I want to say had to do. A lot of these are also optional. It's like the players doing their own.
They're capitalists here.
Yeah, but by Sunday evening of All-Star weekend, everybody just wants to go home. So that's part of this too. And All-Star weekend wasn't quite as packed or chaotic or insane or as corporatized back in the day. So guys were, I think, a little fresher by Sunday. Now they're just burned out and want to. And by the way, because Adam
maybe a little fresher, maybe, depending on the city.
All-Star break used to just be basically like everybody stopped playing on like Thursday, or maybe stopped playing on Wednesday. They had a travel day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday was All-Star. And then everybody had to be back for practice by like Monday afternoon. Adam was the one who decided to make this a full week. So the other thing is, like, everybody else who's not in part of All-Star weekend, they all get this like full week off. Or not maybe entirely, because like they, at some point later in the week, during the All-Star break, they have to report back for practice. But the All-Stars themselves are like sitting around going like, okay, it's an honor to be here. It's great. But like, damn, my teammates are on an island somewhere.
But here's the other thing, though. They still get that. Also, I've covered teams with multiple All-Stars. They get their 2 days in Cabo, too. They still get their 2 days
but that's what I'm saying.
Beach.
But their teammates got 5 days in Cabo, and the All-Stars had to wait till Sunday until this stupid All-Star game is over, basically. Like, I don't mean to say it's stupid. That's how I think some of them feel about it. That they're just trying to get through it without being injured and to get on a plane to a tropical island somewhere. So
I think that's been the problem, though, with not only in NBA, but I think sports in general, as I think that from a player standpoint, there is at least been a stagnation in the mindset of we need each other to grow this game. Like, if you go look if you talk to stars of today versus you talk about the stars of yesteryear, Magic Johnson's always like, yo, we're trying to grow this league. We're trying to grow this league. We're trying to do this. Now it's like these stars are like, oh, I don't really need any of this. I got my money. I'm good. I don't really like. There's a difference in mindset on how to grow the league, and I feel like there's a stagnation there. I think NBA is the poster child for that right now, because I think MLB is, if you look at MLB, they're growing at a rapid pace. NFL is just a machine. But the NBA in particular, the players and the people involved are like, it feels like growing the game is beneath them. And I think you see that in the All-Star format right now in terms of the mindset going into the weekend, because this is how you sell your league with these types of events.
Yeah. So let me wrap up this item this way. One, I agree with all of that. I have a longer version of that I will save for another day, or for some offline conversations with people. But like that, I absolutely believe that that's a thing. I don't think that they have quite as much of a sense of duty to the game and promoting and growing the game, because the game is now such a juggernaut. The league is such a juggernaut, and they are making such incredible money. Just a ridiculous proportion more than what their predecessors did. Right. So there's less of a sense of needing to do that. And I kind of get that. So when it comes to the All-Star game, the fact is, like, the league is committed to this, right? This is an old construct. Maybe it should just be done away with, but they're never going to do away with it. It's a corporate event. It's the sponsors event and all this stuff. So you have to trick yourself into thinking it matters. And the reason that I liked the tournament style and the reason I liked some of the other features that they had applied in previous versions of changing it up was if you make the game shorter, if you put other stakes on the line, like with the charities, you're trying to give them something else to grasp onto so you can forget for a moment that this is ultimately a meaningless exhibition. And when younger people especially push back and say like, hey, old man, why do you even care about this? We just like seeing all the dunks and like, half court threes and shit. If you go back, and it's older players feel the same as some of us older media, like that 2001 game Logan was referring to, like the Iverson and Marbury ended up in this amazing duel. Guys tried hard, and usually it was the fourth quarter where it amped up. But even from jump, like if you look at those games, did they feel like a regular season game with real stakes or a playoff game? No, of course not, and no one is asking for that. But there was a little bit more attempt to actually stop each other. And if you don't play any defense at all, then none of it really these are world-class basketball players. Of course, they can get off shots from anywhere at any time and throw alley-oops and stuff. We already know they can do that. The trick of the game and why the NBA is fun is, can you do it when someone's trying to stop you? So anyway, I do think that shorter games and other measures that where you amp up the stakes from minute to minute, it can trick the psyche of the player into trying harder. So yes, Logan, you're right. It's on the players, but I think format does matter and can cater to that. So anyway, what's your second resolution?
My second resolution is, and this is not going to be a surprise to you, but we need to embrace the youth movement that's going on in the NBA at this moment, right? And I say that not only just as like from a consumer standpoint, but from a league standpoint. I think that right now we are caught in the middle of two generations. Obviously, there's the Kevin Durant, the LeBron James, the Steph Curry of it all, and then that brings up this question of, what is it going to be like when these people are gone, right? We continue to see this has been a storyline over the last couple of seasons, right? But in the midst of that, I think we're missing the point here where we have so many young, exciting superstars right now, and I think we're starting to see that this season, the gravitational pull to them. But I think we need to, instead of yearning for yesteryear and yearning for the nostalgia and like, what is going to happen when all these people leave? Are we going to have a league? I think we need to transition that into thinking, yo, man, the league is in good hands with all of these different people. And I think even just how we see the game and how we look at the game, because we're at a point right now in this season, and I think the divide is very striking. Like the teams led by Steph, there's not a team led by LeBron at this point, right? But the teams led by Steph and the teams led by KD, who was kind of like I don't know if he's the best player yet on that team. Maybe he is. Somebody's probably going to yell at me, but he isn't the priority of that organization, priority of that organization's future. But all of those guys and all those teams that they reside on aren't, on paper at least, beating the Oklahoma City Thunder in a 7-game series, not beating the Spurs in a 7-game series, not beating the Nuggets necessarily in a 7-game series if they were fully healthy. And I think now, we saw it a little bit last year with the Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder, but we just need to embrace this new movement and get to know these young guys, because I really think the league is in such good hands with these young players from a marketing standpoint, from a game standpoint, and from an entertainment standpoint. And I don't want us to be stuck in the past. And that doesn't mean that we're not celebrating our legends, because I absolutely think there's going to be a time and a place for that. But I think that we need to look at the Anthony Edwards and look at all these guys and look at them on that level if they are ready to take that mantle, because it feels like right now we are approaching that 1998, 1999, like Jordan feels like post-apocalypse, where we're like, well, where are all these players? Where are all these things? And you blind yourselves and you don't see the Tim Duncans coming down the pike, right? You don't see Kobe and Shaq that are coming down the pike, these superstars, these generational talents. And I think we can do a better job of just embracing this new culture. Then that's what I want to see. That's my vibes resolution for the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think the NBA has done what they can to lean into those guys, but there's certainly still like KD, LeBron, and Steph were all on Christmas for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And granted, LeBron's on Christmas in part because Luka's on Christmas, or vice versa. Both of them would have been on if Luka were still a Maverick. which he should be, I think the Mavericks and Lakers would have both been on, and LeBron still would have been on. So I don't mean to diminish that, but there's a reason that LeBron and Steph and KD are still in all these marquee games and tentpole nights of the NBA calendar. But they've, look, they're certainly doing their best to make sure that people know who Victor Wembanyama is, and Anthony Edwards has been, he's had his moment in the spotlight quite a bit in the last few years. The issue becomes, because we're always chasing Jordan, right? Everything becomes a Jordan construct. You can't just be a great young player. You can't just be talented. You also got to win. You got to win a lot, and you got to win spectacularly, and you got to have a little bit of charisma to you too. Tim Duncan was one of the best players of all time, and certainly one of the dominant players of his era. He was never the quote unquote face of the league, whatever the phrase means, because he was Tim Duncan. Like, Tim Duncan didn't want to be face of the league. Tim Duncan just wanted to clock in, clock out, win some games, win some championships, hang some banners, and then go work on some cars somewhere. He was not interested.
And occasionally do a Real Ones interview that you guys can go check out. Still can't believe that happened.
How much arm twisting did that take? He did one with Richard Jefferson too within the last year. But he wasn't doing that stuff. Podcast didn't exist during his time, but he certainly wasn't doing that stuff during his own time. He didn't want anything to do with interviews or peeling back the curtain and letting anybody in on who Tim Duncan was. That was not his deal. So it takes everything. So your point is I think correct. I agree, but it has to happen organically, and I think these guys have to seize it and they have to want it.
I think and that is a really good point. I think also one thing that I have been impressed with is the apparatus around these young guys now, and I'm talking about this season when you talk about the new league partners and their investment in storytelling about the league, and that's something that I've complained about in years past, where it felt like we weren't, at least, and I know that it's winning, it's charisma, it's a whole thing, but I don't know up until this season how good of a job the league was actually doing to promote its young guys and telling their stories and having it. It felt like for a long time they were just banking on the fact oh yeah, we got Steph for 10 more years, we'll just bargain him, but it's there's other guys here that we can market, that we can push push the agenda, if you will. I don't know have a better word to say that, but I think we should have more of that, because at this point, the difference between a couple years ago and now is those stars are actually fading, and now that they are actually fading, it's time to that OKC San Antonio stretch was fucking awesome. Awesome.
It was like a mini playoff stretched over the course of 2 weeks.
It made me think yo, Steph, chill out, yo, just go sit right here and watch with us. LeBron, just come watch with us. Chill out. But it was great, and it was that is what made me prompt this thought. Is there's a new era upon us. So just invest in the youth is my New Year's resolution.
The good news is Wemby's going to be around for quite a while, and so are Shea and Chet and J-Dub, and Wemby's got this great supporting cast growing around him with Castle and Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox. These teams are going to be around for a while. They're going to play. It's going to be awesome. We have not had a lot of true rivalries, and they don't last long because the turnover is so fast in today's NBA. So here's hoping. Look, 2 small market teams. I don't care where teams are located. As long as the players are great and they.
Can you get a direct flight to OKC? I hope that they can give us a direct flight now that they're good again.
You know what?
From the Bay Area.
If they're in the finals enough years in a row, maybe eventually the airlines will start flying there.
We'll get one at fucking 6 a.m. or something like that. Thank you.
Oklahoma hates when we talk about this. Let's just shelve that.
I wasn't okay. My bad. San Antonio. Let me look right now. If there's any
San Antonio, you can get to a little bit easier. Although San Antonio, Miami, those 2 finals were tough to bounce back and forth between. Anyway, no, look, we there are some great young players in this league. The league's going to be fine. The league's in great hands. It'll be good. My next resolution, Logan. This one's kind of for more than one party here. This is for Giannis and the Bucks together. I just want them to find happiness in 2026, with or without each other, whatever it means. It could just be Giannis and the Bucks looking at each other and saying, you know what? I still love you, but I'm not in love with you. You know,
Wow.
it'd be
It was
fine.
a good run.
Yeah.
We had a good run, you know?
Right. Like they'll always love each other. They'll always be each other's first. They won a championship together. They had some great memories.
It ain't Valentine's Day, Beck. It ain't Valentine's Day yet, Beck. Relax.
But sometimes these things just run their course. And by the way, if it hasn't run its course and you actually decide to renew your vows and stay together for the rest of time, I'm fine with that too, but fucking figure it out. And I know
they're that one couple in the corner that we're just like rolling our eyes at, like, dog, what the fuck, bro? Like, we're trying to have a good night here at this very beautiful Brooklyn restaurant, and you over here tripping right now. Like, come on, figure it out. We love you both, but figure it out.
I know the Bucks and Giannis are still love each other. I just think they've got a lot of issues to work out. There's a lot of passive aggressiveness going on, and
a lot of double dutching, a lot of in and out. Because here's the other thing. This is another thing that has like really truly been fascinating to see. It's not only it's the reporting aspect, right? Like it's the, Giannis is talking to this person, but something is leaking to this person, right? And that information isn't coming from nowhere, is all I'm going to say, right? Yeah. Like it feels like a person that is speaking out of both sides of his mouth right now. It's is what it is.
Let's be clear. The backdrop to all of this, of course, is that whichever starting point you want to look at, but let's go to August of 2023 when Tanya Ganguli from the New York Times had the interview and the extensive story with Giannis in which he said, quote, "Winning a championship comes first. I don't want to be 20 years on the same team and don't win another championship." And he said versions of that at other points that year, and he has said versions of that since, including in the last couple of months. And as recently as last week, when he got testy with a reporter post-game after his windmill dunk during garbage time, and then somebody asked, by the way, do you still see yourself here or whatever for long term? And he said it was a disrespectful question, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he could have just said, I'm going to be here for the rest of my career. We're going to figure this out. I'm not going anywhere. And he didn't say that. He just said, I'm here now. I'm here now. I'm wearing this jersey.
I'm often fascinated about that, though, Howard. I'm fascinated by a player, not just Giannis, but like the player that is looking for greener pastures, right? But
it's fair for stars of his caliber, Logan, to want to be on contending teams. And the point of this whole thing right now, from his standpoint, and frankly, from ours as the viewers, they're not a contending team. They are nowhere near being a contending team. And they do not have the supporting cast for them to be a contending team. I did this quickly earlier. Just look at the Ringer 100 list. Go to the top 10, top 15, top 20. Aside from maybe Devin Booker, and even there, I'm not sure. Find me a star of Giannis, and by the way, Giannis is a caliber above Devin Booker, but find me a top 10 player, a top 15 player who has a worse supporting cast than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it really quickly right after we get done with this subject, actually.
So you're going to be wrong, but I'm just saying, like, there's a reason. And by the way, he's still in his prime. He's 31. That matters here too. He still has a lot of runway left. But that runway don't last forever. So it's fair for Giannis to be antsy about where things are. It's fair for him to potentially want out. But they do have to figure this out. It is becoming like, this is torturous for Bucks fans. I hear from them plenty. I'm sorry, Bucks fans, that we're talking about this again. It's a thing. This is going to be resolved sometime this year. Either they trade him by the trade deadline or they don't. They trade him in the offseason or they don't, or he signs an extension or he doesn't. But if he doesn't sign an extension, then the trade is almost automatic at that point because it means he's not committed long term. And I'm fascinated to see what the Bucks do between now and the trade deadline because they're sending signals across the league. We are trying to build around him, not trade him. And if that's the case, I can't wait to see what they can pull off because they don't have a lot of tools to work with. But hey, like they may shock us all. I'm completely open to that possibility. I hope it happens.
The last time they pulled a rabbit out the hat.
Sometime in 2026, this is going to have to resolve.
The last time they pulled a rabbit out the hat, they traded for Damian Lillard, which was a complete surprise because the whole summer we were basically thinking that Dame was going to go to Miami. Remember that? Like we that was like basically. I never thought it was going to end up with Miami just because I thought that the Blazers were so dug in, but the Bucks was still a bit of a surprise. Yeah, I think the other thing that that is just so fascinating to me for stars in Giannis's position is, okay, you want to go win a title, and I completely agree with that because you guys are competitive beings. You want that accomplishment. It's a very rare one, but also like it ain't. Say he goes to the Knicks, it's never going to be the same as when you you were in Milwaukee. So you're weighing that, especially a guy like Giannis, who continues to throw signals that he might want to go to New York. And also, we don't know what the return is going to be if he goes to New York. The Knicks might get fleeced in this way, right? Like, I don't know. I just don't know how it's going to happen. So they're thinking about that. And like, on one hand, you're going to be a god if you stay your whole career in this other place, but you're not going to win the titles. And then if you do trade away, you're going to probably win a title, but it ain't going to hit the same as if you won a title where you were from, especially when I'm talking about a player like Giannis. So I'm always fascinated by that. And that leads to our next player, Mr. Steph Curry, which goes to my resolution, which is let's treat the legends better on their way out. My goodness. You saw this is on the backdrop of the Warriors winning 3 of their last 4 games, but it's from all intents and purposes, and you saw them last night. I haven't seen them in about a month, but the vibes are not great here. And a lot of that has to do with the roster construction around Steph Curry and the back nine of his career, pun intended, because he is a golfer. But they trade for Jimmy Butler, which honestly, and it worked out for the backstretch of last season, but I don't think in the totality of it, this deal has necessarily worked out. The Warriors front office tried to win a negotiation with Jonathan Kuminga at all costs, even if it costed them the rest of their roster building opportunities. They have pushed away trades to get Lauri Markkanen to keep Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski on the roster. Brandon Podziemski has been a very divisive figure both in Chase Center and outside of Chase Center. Same with Jonathan Kuminga. It seems we haven't even talked about Steve Kerr and the troubles that he has had in the Bay Area, both the criticism of his coaching and just overall, like Draymond quitting in the middle of a game, just all these things that are happening right now. And it doesn't seem that Steph Curry, the face of their franchise, is a priority on the back nine of his career. And that just sucks, right? I don't have an answer for this, but I think we need to treat our star players a lot better on their way out. Chris Paul came to mind on this one. We need to, I get you want to preserve and you're running a business, but the reason why Chase Center is rocking the way it is because of one person. And there's no guarantee that you are going to draft another person like that and have the generational shift. So you need to put especially for an organization like the Warriors, you need to put all your, if you want to be the Lakers of your generation and change how we look at Bay Area basketball long-term, you put all your chips into your best player that's ever laced them up and you figure out the rest later. And the Warriors have fumbled the bag on that. I think this was just a rant. Your thoughts, Howard Beck?
I had deeper on my list of resolutions for the Warriors to do whatever it takes to make sure that Steph's twilight is meaningful. I've said similar things about LeBron in recent years when the Lakers were screwing up left and right about his supporting cast. I can't fault the Warriors in the way I faulted the Lakers because the Warriors have tried. You could say that the Jimmy Butler thing hasn't paid off to the degree you wanted it to, but they went out and got an all-star player. They went out and got a great dude. Like, to the point of what I said a few minutes ago about you're going to be wrong, Jimmy Butler's better than anybody on the freaking Bucks roster. By the way, Draymond Green is too still at this stage. The Warriors have 2 players who are better than anybody. Giannis would kill to have Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green around him right now. That's all I'm saying. You don't need to rebut. It's just true.
But I'm saying who else though? Who else on the roster that's good?
No, it's a fucking drop off after that. But like, they made their mistakes, right? I've said it 1,000 times. I never thought they should have used the picks that became Wiseman, Moody, Kuminga, because when they had the unfortunate benefit of being bad for a couple of years after being a championship team for years, when they, the 2 timelines, as Zach always says, it was an accident. But the point of the exercise should not have been draft young players because we're going to have the post Curry group, the core, no.
Well, they wanted to be the Spurs. They thought they were going to be the Spurs.
They should have traded those picks before they ever became those players. I thought that in real time at the time. I have thought that ever since.
Yep.
And yeah.
And you can also make the argument that they should have traded Draymond Green a couple years ago.
There's a reason why he's still there. We all know what it is. There's a reason why Clay was there as long as he was. There's a reason why the Warriors have functioned the way they have the last several years, because the priority has been twofold. Try to do everything you can around Steph, but also, give Steph what he needs and also what he wants. He wanted those guys around. So I think that's to an extent. I think those are red herrings. I think if you have the right roster construction and made better decisions along the way, and if ownership hadn't gotten in the way of insisting on these young guys who you believed were going to be the future in the next era, they would have made different decisions. They could have gotten better players along the way. That's all water under the bridge. What they need to do between now and the trade deadline is get whatever they can out of a Kuminga deal. And if that requires also putting Moody or Pods or picks in it, I'm not saying mortgage the entire future. I said this on Zach's pod yesterday. It doesn't mean mortgage the future. It doesn't mean, foolishly believe that if we just make enough splashy moves, we're going to be in title contention and we can knock out the Thunder. It just means don't allow yourself to be a play-in team or first round and out team if you can find a way to build at least a slightly better version of this team around Steph and Draymond and Jimmy Butler as it stands right now. It's a really hard thing to do, but I want to see a team around Steph that at least is capable of winning a series or two. They did get to the second round last spring, and if Steph doesn't get hurt, they damn well might have made the conference finals. So is there enough work to be done around the margins to put them in the thick of things? I don't know, but they're obligated to try. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know what the move is, but they are obligated to keep trying. And they did when they went out and got Jimmy Butler. And they, you're not going to find another trade of that level, especially with how cheaply they were able to get him. But find something, do something.
Yeah, we'll see. Joe Lacob is the de facto GM at this point. I don't care what anybody says in that organization. We all know the truth. Do you have one more before we go to mailbag? Mailbag?
I could just like tick off a handful of others here that I was just having fun with. Like resolution for the Chicago Bulls. Do something to commit to something.
To do something
that is not commit to something, anything that is not mediocrity. Because the conclusion of the last 10 years is that you are committed to something. You do have goals. The goal is to win 39 to 43 games every year, be in the play-in, and get bounced in the play-in or the first round of the playoffs. That, like, cool, great way to accomplish your goals. Commit to something other than mediocrity, Chicago Bulls. Next resolution, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, John Morant. I just want them all to get traded. They could all get traded for each other, get traded somewhere else, whatever.
Can they get traded on the same team?
Sure, why not?
I don't know if that's not technically possible, but like if it were, can we? let's all go to Charlotte. That'd be cool.
I would like the universe to resolve to not create Achilles ruptures in star NBA players anymore. I want to see Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, Dame Lillard all back sooner than later. Fred VanVleet in there too. Kyrie Irving in his ACL. Like, let's just get all these stars back on the court again. This is more
take the injury tackle off, like on 2K. Just like no more injuries.
Exactly.
Take it off.
There you go. And last one more resolution for the NBA. Just please reject expansion. We don't need a watered down product.
Wait, hold on.
There are enough shitty teams as it is. You're going.
What about
to
relocation? Because I'm trying to go to Seattle. What about relocation? I'm trying to go to Seattle.
I'm going to say this in two parts, and I'm not going to elaborate. I support relocation instead of expansion to get the NBA back to Seattle. And no, I will not say which teams on the record I think should be relocated, but I think people could figure it out.
No matter. Yo, I don't know. I think if they put a team in Seattle, me and Howard are going to be fighting to see who is going to do the first Seattle feature.
Everybody's going to be clamoring to go. Seattle deserves to have a team back. Let me be very, very clear. Seattle never should have lost the Sonics. They deserve to have a team again. Shout out to Jordan Khan and his Sonic Boom podcast series. Everybody should go listen if you haven't before. But no, I don't believe expansion is necessary, warranted, or wise.
Have you been to Climate Pledge yet? It's great. I was there in August. It was awesome. I went for a Storm game. The sight lines are great. The arena is great.
I haven't been to Seattle since the Sonics left.
That's I guess you're East Coast. I understand. I was going to say that's that's out of pocket, but I understand. East Coast bias. Speaking of East Coast bias, let's take a quick break, and Cliff is going to join us for Mailbag. And we are back. Cliffy Boo, not the 2, is in the building. It's good to see you, Cliff. What's going on, buddy?
Lolo, Howard, Beck, man. Happy New Year's to you guys, man. It's been a fun 2025 hanging out with y'all. But I can't wait to celebrate on this side and, go out and have a festive New Year's. But let's go out with one final mailbag of 2025. This is from Kevin Ellis, Tigers who changed their stripes. I'm curious if you guys can come up with 4 or 5-star NBA players in NBA history who changed the most dramatically in terms of what they did for their teams. I'm not talking about improvement, but rather going from one skill set or play style to another. I'd just like to see if you could come up with some Tigers who really did change their stripes mid-career. Thanks, Kevin.
I got a couple. Howard, it's funny. Howard threw me these questions beforehand. It was like, you need these. And I was like, I think this is right up my wheelhouse, especially off of memory. So I think I'm going to throw it. I think Will Chamberlain is probably the gold standard of this, right? Where he goes into the Lakers in the backstretch of his career. He's scoring a lot of points, with the Sixers and the Warriors. And he has to change because, one, he's getting older, playing on a roster with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. And they need him to get assists. They need him to get rebounds, and that's exactly what he does. I think he leads the league in assists one of those years, and they go on a 33-game winning streak, and they win the 72 title. I think that's one guy. Vince Carter, I think of the modern NBA, is a poster child for this, where he just gracefully goes into being a role player, a three-point shooter who gets great dunks off during warm-ups that go viral. I remember those years. I saw him a couple of years when he was playing for the Kings, and I was like, damn, you old. But, you still got it. Still got more athleticism than everyone in this building combined. I think he is a poster child for this. If LeBron played it right, he's a reluctant poster child for this, just be a hub for 20 minutes a game. But those are the ones that come to mind as the ones that I think. I don't know if I can get to 4 or 5 because, stars have egos and stuff, but.
It's a great question from Kevin here. The difficulty is I don't think a lot of stars, because stars do certain things really great to make them stars. So you're never going to, if you're like a great 3-point shooter or you're a great post player back in the day when post play was a bigger thing, you're not going to abandon it to go do something else unless you got old or got hurt or both. And so when I was thinking about this question, most of the guys who came to mind, it was because of one or the other: age, injury, sometimes both. I think the gold standard to some extent maybe is Kareem. And I wrote about this a few weeks ago, analogizing Kareem in late in his career to LeBron now, where Kareem one year, it just became apparent it was time to pass the torch. And you just saw the roles flip. Magic became the hub of that offense. Kareem played a supporting role, sometimes even was like the third option after Magic and Worthy. And that's what I thought LeBron needed to do now on a team with Luka. And so that was the column I wrote on theringer.com a few weeks back. But again, that's age influence, right? Tim Duncan making way for Kawhi Leonard and then enabling Tim to win his final ring too. Yeah, Logan, what?
I have one. Bill Walton.
Yeah.
Bill Walton starts his career. I mean, injuries played a part in this, but starts his. I'd also recommend everybody watch the ESPN doc on Bill Walton. It's amazing. It's like yearly programming for me. But starts off with the Portland Trail Blazers. Just injury history is got so bad to the point where he had to leave Portland because he just didn't trust the doctors anymore. Goes to San Diego, plays for the Clippers. Isn't injuries do him in again? He's out of the league to the point where he gets a call from Boston. I think he's out of the league for like a year or two. And Boston calls him like, hey, do you want to play with us? He winds up being an important cog on the 86 Celtics because he's just a role player happy to be there, right? I think that is, if you are injured and have to change your stripes, or I think he is the player that you have to look towards to do that. Bill Walton, I think, is probably the greatest example, to be honest with you.
Could be. there are a few others that came to mind, and like one of them kind of fits that bill too. Like Grant Hill. Grant Hill was going to be the next MJ of some sort, right? He was on that list of guys who were supposed to be next Jordan. Grant Hill was a freaking awesome player, had all the ankle issues first in Detroit and then in Orlando. And so Grant Hill was never able to reach those highs again. So when you say like a star who changed their game, he was a star who could no longer be a star. But Grant Hill was an awesome freaking role player and a great leader and really critical to some Suns teams. And like he bounced around a bit at the end, but like Grant Hill adapted his game as Vince Carter did, Logan mentioned earlier, as Paul Pierce actually did a little bit with the Nets and then the Wizards and Clippers. Guys do it at various levels of effectiveness, and some are not as thrilled to play more of the supporting role or a bench role.
Andre Iguodala?
Iguodala is that's another great example for sure. Like Iguodala was, for a while there were two AIs in Philly, right? Iverson and Iguodala, and then he was a different player in Denver and then a different player still with the Warriors and became finals MVP by just being the best version of a role player that you could possibly be. So
I'll say another one, though. It's probably not going to get as much acclaim, or it's probably not. You're probably going to like roll your eyes at this, but Chris Bosh is another one that had to change.
Oh, that's actually, you know what? That's actually a great
career.
That's a great
Kevin
call.
Love is someone, that had to change his career mid-stride because he had
to fit in or fit out.
Fit in or fit out, exactly, right? But like they don't get that because it's like, the shadow of LeBron cast, but those guys had to adjust. Dwayne Wade as well in that as well. Like he literally in the midway of the first season, I believe it was the first season, or it might have been the second season of the Big Three, where he literally had to have a conversation with LeBron saying like, you are the one. And I'm going to be a number 2 guy. And that's a big deal because Dwayne Wade going into that was considered a top 5 guard of all time and could conceivably be that as well right now. But I think those guys need that as well. Need that attention as well.
Yeah. Those are all great calls. Joel Embiid is actually in the midst of something like that right now, right? Like if he never gets back to who he was, he's very ground bound, but he can still score a lot of points. Like he's more jump shooter now than inside scorer because he just doesn't have the same level of bounce and physicality in the paint. So he's in the middle of some sort of just change here.
How about Patrick Ewing in the '99 season? Would that count as a Tiger changing his stripes? Because he's Pat Ewing, but then he winds up being like a role player, a really good role player down the stretch, but he wasn't the guy that he was.
And again, another one influenced by injury and by limitations and age and by Sprewell and Houston being the better hub for the offense there. There's a few other quick ones here.
Go ahead.
No, just Jason Kidd. This is a deep cut. Early in his career, he was always awesome, but early in his career, they sometimes called him Asen because he had no J. And Jason Kidd became a really great 3-point shooter. So that's adding a skill set. I think that's outside of what the emailer Kevin was asking about. But I think about Jason Kidd adding the 3-point shot and becoming a great 3-point shooter. I think about Amari Stoudemire, who was just, a jumping jack who then developed a mid-range game and how that expanded his game. Carmelo adding the 3 as a really reliable 3-point shooter in the backstretch of his career, or maybe midway through.
I don't know if Carmelo counts though. Because he wasn't able to he was a good player, but he wasn't able to buy into being a fully.
He was always going to be a scorer who didn't do a lot else. He was never going to be a great playmaker. He was never going to be a great defender, and those are the things that everybody was always asking for that he never kind of got around to. But that's fair. I just thought about. Because he's another guy who developed a 3 later in his career. But
we talked about the 99 finals with Pat Ewing, but we didn't talk about the other side of that, which was David Robinson, who had to adjust his game for Tim Duncan and realize that, I'm not the best player on this team. And he was the face of it. So we'll see. I really just talked through all of that because I don't have any idea about this next question, and this is all Howard's question. I literally have nothing for you.
Cliff, I had to give Logan a couple of quick alerts because I'm like, dude, you're not going to want to try to answer these off the top of your
the cuff,
head.
Yeah.
You're
I answered the first one off the top of my head. I'm really proud of that.
But it's not the top of your head because I spoiled it and told you 40 minutes ago.
I could have got it though, because when you did it, you were like, no. In the conversation, really quickly, When Howard was like, I don't know if you're going to get this, and you're like, I don't know how to do research, I sprouted off like 5 names. Like, oh, Wilt, this guy, this guy, this guy. I could have did it. I could have fucking did it. Absolutely.
Fine.
Also, just for
Cliff, what we got?
Also, just for context, please never refer to Andre Iguodala as AI. No disrespect. No disrespect. No disrespect.
Is that as bad as saying that Oklahoma, you can't get direct flights there and the downtown is only a mile wide?
It's bad as calling San Francisco San Fran. But I didn't.
Oh, that one kills me. That kills me.
Yep.
And then Frisco. Do not say Frisco. Frisco's in Texas, people.
See, that's a different divide, because I'm going to give a matter of fact, before we get to Cliff's question, there's a Dregs one, a legendary San Francisco, a luminary, who gives you the actual history of San Francisco and Frisco and its relationship to Texas. So anyways, I will send that offline. Go to Cliff for the last question, because no.
All right, this is from John Majewski. Diehard NBA analogs. In the spirit of Christmas, who is the John McClane of current NBA players? I'm thinking somebody tough, gritty, and perpetually underrated, but very, very good in the clutch. Also needs to be funny and charismatic. Draymond? He comes closest for me, but he doesn't seem quite right. Historically, Larry Bird fits in some way, but he's too big of a star by the time he was a pro. What about Robert Horry? How about Hans Gruber? Somebody immensely skilled and talented, but can't help but get in their own way during the biggest moments. James Harden? Eager to hear your thoughts. Professor John Majewski, Emeritus, Department of History, UC Santa Barbara. Shout out to John Majewski.
I had some fun times at UC Santa Barbara. That's my contribution to this question. Shout out Isla Vista. If you know, you know.
Shout out to Santa Barbara. Shout out to the Gauchos. My wife is a Gaucho, so always love answering questions from UC SB alums. This is a great question. This is turns out Logan's only seen Die Hard like once. Me being the age I am, I have seen it approximately 5,732 times, give or take. I love this question. Ellis from Die Hard is, in fact, my avatar every December on social media and is on Blue Sky right now. John McClane, I like the description. I like the outline we're drawing here, trying to find an NBA player. And I think you're right that Draymond is not quite the right fit there. And I thought about this. It turns out, actually, it's the guy playing right next to him. I think Jimmy Butler is John McClane. Like, think about what McClane at one point calls himself when he's talking to Hans and he's saying, "Who are you?" And he says, "Just a fly in the ointment, a pain in the ass." That's Jimmy. He's a fly in the ointment. He's a pain in the ass. He's, but in the best way possible. Sometimes not the best way possible. I think the Heat would say, but Jimmy Butler, definitely underrated for the totality of his career. He's had some honors, but he's not your classic NBA superstar who's dropping 25, 30 a night. He just does a lot of little things along the way, but he can score in the clutch. He's definitely a guy you want to go to in clutch time as a defender as well, as a playmaker as well. And he's got the charisma. Like you said, like, again, the right call. John McClane, funny, little quippy, some charisma. That's Jimmy Butler. So I think Jimmy Butler is our John McClane of the NBA. Hans Gruber was a little harder. Like, Hans is super smart. He's a criminal mastermind right up to the point where he falls like 35 stories to his death while trying to hang on to Holly's Rolex watch. It's a tough call here. I settled on Rudy Gobert. Hans has got the German accent going, got that cool European vibe. Rudy's bringing the French vibe. Rudy, sometimes clever, but like Hans, kind of like maybe fatally flawed, a little too sure of himself, maybe tries a little too hard, specifically on offense, because you're not an offensive player, Rudy Gobert. I'm sorry. So I think Gobert is where I've settled on this. But for sheer casting purposes, like, Jokic would be just such a great movie villain, and talk about like the accent that goes with it too. So I kind of like Jokic there. Hans was supposed to be German in this movie. Apparently, the German was not quite accurate or was not quite grammatical. So maybe we need a real German. Maybe it's Dirk Nowitzki, but that's past NBA. So our listener did not ask for an Ellis stand-in, but because Ellis might be my favorite character in the movie and is my avatar, I'm just going to say that I would describe Ellis as the kind of like self-impressed shit talker who thinks he's a lot more clever than he actually is, and that would be Dillon Brooks. So there you go. There's your diehard NBA comps for the day.
So you're saying you love Dillon Brooks? You're saying?
I do. I think Dillon Brooks is awesome. He's fun.
Yo, man,
Steve Kerr may disagree.
Steve Kerr got his own problems, but I just love seeing the compilations of like Dillon Brooks fucking with LeBron. I love it. I love it. It's funny. Yeah. You know, the hand slaps, all of that. That's my, again, I don't know shit about diehards. That was my contribution. Dillon Brooks. And Isla Vista.
Real quick, by the way, to our listener, Harry Liggins, the AI step over email is still in the archive. It's still in the can. It's a top shelf. We're going to get to it as soon as Raja gets back on this podcast for a Tuesday pod when we do the mailbag. So, or who knows? Maybe we'll break it out on Friday when it's just me and Raja. We'll get to it, but we got to do that one when Raja's on the pod.
All right. Miss everybody. Miss you, Raja. We will see everyone next year. First and foremost, I will be back next Tuesday. Howard will be back, presumably with Raja Bell. That's been another edition of Real Ones. Happy holidays. We gave you an hour, 20 minutes. You know how we do on these Howard Logan ones. It was very long-winded. We got a lot to say. realonesmailbag@gmail.com, realonesmailbag@gmail.com, realonesmailbag@gmail.com. Tap in with us every Tuesday. We will do our best to get to your questions. We will see you next year. All the shits. Happy holidays. Bye. Must be 21 years and older and present in select states for Kansas and affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.